At the start of the week, a new Them skate was leaked and it turned a few heads because it looks like it's a collaboration with a skateboard company.
Yeah, right.
Yep, the skate appears to be a collaboration with Weekend Skateboards, a hugely popular brand in skateboarding, and this went everywhere on social media. It was all over Instagram, it was all over Facebook, a couple of shops even had it up for pre-order. Naughty shops, and people were just sending me this left, right and center, asking me if it was real, asking me what I thought of it, and yeah, it just blew up really quickly. Later this week, Them Skates confirmed that they are doing a collaboration with Weekend because they put up a poster for a premiere which is taking place at Blading Cup, and it says Them Skates times Weekend Skateboards, so it would appear that we've got a video on the way. How did this collaboration come about? Well, if you cast your mind back to June last year, dun dun dun, pro skateboarder Jordan Taylor had a segment in Thrasher magazine called Out There, and it's this video series where they just delve into the lives of pro skateboarders, what they do in their free time, what their day-to-day life is like, you know, what their passions are. And in Jordan's, he talks about taking inspiration from other extreme sports such as rollerblading and scooters.
I've been watching a bunch of random shit lately. All sorts of like action sports, whatever you call it. Scootering, blading, biking, just for inspo, honestly, and like spots, because we all hit similar spots. So they'll like hit a spot in a different way or something that's not even possible, like on a skateboard, but it's like the idea is sick. Like, whoa, what if you could do that on a skateboard? They just see it differently, so like maybe it like will spark an idea for me.
And in the video, he can be seen watching the John Bellino section that he filmed with Casey Garrity during lockdown. Later in the video, you see Jordan meet up with a scooter rider that he contacted on Instagram, and they've been exchanging spots, and they decide to meet up, have a session, and see if they could skate the same terrain.
But yeah, I met up with Devin. Dude, he's super sick. We like became friends through Instagram, and we'll just like talk, and he sent me a couple spots, and I've actually gone and checked them out. They've been like a little too gnarly, some of them. He like really likes roofs, so we'll like look at roofs together, but he's so much gnarlier in the roof game than I am. Because I've watched skating my whole life, so it's kind of nice to look at other people who are into a similar thing but different and see how they view it, and then you can pick apart what they do and like come up with a trick through what they do.
That was sick.
So it would seem he's done the same thing with John Bellino. He's perhaps messaged back and forth, they've exchanged spots, they've maybe met up for a session. And on top of being pro for New Balance footwear and Weekend Skateboards, Jordan Taylor actually runs his own brand called Lucy.
I feel like I've wanted to start something on my own for a while, just to like have another creative outlet, I guess. I've probably been saying that for like 5 years, and I just didn't do anything. And now I finally just like started to actually like doodle and like get in contact with people that can help me make the shirts, and like I just started like taking the steps to actually doing it. It all kind of started out as like, what's like whack? Like I was like, what do I want to wear, but I'm like too scared to wear. I want to make that and like really actually just like wear it and be like, why am I scared? But yeah, I want it to be outrageous.
I know he's been hooking up Alex Brosco, Parker Richardson and John Bellino because they've all been sharing the stuff on Instagram, they've all been wearing the clothes, and Parker Richardson and John Bellino actually appear in a video where they skate with two skateboarders. They're in an underground car park for a bit, just sessioning curbs and stuff like that, and then they go to like some kind of like storm ditch thing and skate that. Also, recently, Lucy posted up a promo and it features Parker Richardson on rollerblades and John Bellino on a skateboard. Now, I know John Bellino skateboards, but wouldn't it make more sense to have a skateboarder be the skateboarder? I don't know. Either way, it's kind of cool that they're featuring rollerblading and it's in a positive light. They're showing us as we naturally are. They're not making fun of us. They're not trying to, you know, humiliate us in front of the action sports community, which is refreshing.
What, you guys used to rollerblade and that was too fucking cool for you?
So what's the link there? Jordan Taylor now has communication with rollerbladers. Lucy follows a bunch of rollerbladers on Instagram. I think either via like Jordan or via Parker Richardson. He's been connected with John Julio, and those two have just naturally come up with a collaboration. If you look at John Julio's Instagram, if you go a little while back, there's actually a photo of him with a skateboard, and it's a Weeknd skateboard. Although the first time I saw that image, I could not stop thinking about Steve Buscemi in 30 Rock, where he dresses up as a teenager.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
How do you do, fellow kids?
Sorry, John, that was just far too easy. Anyway, moving swiftly onwards, this is the first time that Them Skates have actually properly collaborated with a brand outside of rollerblading that doesn't feature a rollerblader on the other side. And what I mean by that is, every time they've collaborated with a brand, someone at the brand they've collaborated with actually skates. So if you look at the collaboration they did with Braindead, they obviously had the two skates and the clothing line. Kyle from Braindead rollerblades. He talks about it when they interviewed him from Complex. He knows about the history of rollerblading. I think he stopped for a little while and then picked it back up again, but he is a rollerblader.
It's just like RB sponsored X Games, right? Or whatever, like, and it was huge. But this idea of action sports was this like huge glob of industry. You know what I mean? Like everyone was making products for skateboarding, rollerblading. It's just like this new extreme concept. And, you know, everyone else who weren't rollerbladers were probably like, you know what, this is kind of whack, because they're kind of taking our equity into the action sports world. And it just was, you know, it was the downfall of rollerblading.
In fact, he even has footage in Future Shred technology. Also, if you look at the collaboration they've done with Clarks, they've got the skate and the two shoes that are coming. I think they're getting dropped at Blading Cup. That also involves a rollerblader, because Matthew Stewart, who is the head of collaborations at Clarks, has been a rollerblader since the 90s. How do I know this? I used to live with him. He was my flatmate in the early 2000s when I lived in Aberdeen for university, and he can kill it on skates, like this terrifying alley-oop soul from 2008. He also features in the new Bank video Shine, which was made by Leon Humphreys. He has this clip. And this clip. And this clip. He also shows off his iPhone filming skills in one of the new John Lee edits.
Yeah, I'm gonna move back.
So that's what I mean when I say with Weeknd Skateboards, this is the first time that it appears like there isn't actually someone on the other end that's a rollerblader. From what I understand, this has kind of been facilitated by Parker Richardson, who works at the Them store. He's sponsored by them. I think he's kind of struck up a friendship with Jordan. They've somehow put John Julio and Ian Mishna, the owner of Weeknd Skateboards, together, and they've come up with this. I don't know a lot about skateboard companies. I don't really follow skateboarding that much, but I watch a podcast called The Nine Club, and they had the owner of Weeknd Skateboards on there, Ian Mishna, and Weeknd Skateboards is one of the few brands in skateboarding that I actually have any interest in, because they make really fun, joyful videos. They don't take themselves too seriously, and they make these really kind of cool little things that are homages to cult Hollywood films. Plus, they also have these funny little shorts like this one.
Hey, what's up? Nice deck. What? Your stick, bro. It's nice. Oh, thanks. What size is that thing? About 8.5 inches. It looks fun. Thank you. Can I ride it? Sure, I guess.
Weekend Skateboards aren't your typical skateboard company. They don't take themselves too seriously. They're not like the old guard that, you know, hate rollerblading and want to make fun of it and want to see it die, want to see it just stay this tiny little sport. They're from a newer generation. They've got a more open mind, and I think it's a great collaboration. I think it can only be a good thing for the sport, because skateboarding obviously has a much more massive audience than rollerblading does. It's in the Olympics, it's all over the runways, it's, you know, it's the popular extreme sport. So if we can somehow tap into that or showcase rollerblading to that community, that can only be a good thing, as long as it's on our terms, as long as it looks natural and not cheesy and, you know, in a way that makes us look bad. I can only see it as a positive thing. Plus, Weekend Skateboards have got a bigger reach than them skates. I understand them are popular, they're riding a crest of popularity right now, they are doing really well and expanding quickly, but Weekend Skateboards have been going for a decade, maybe longer, and they have got a huge following. They've got a bigger following on social media than them skates, and I saw some comments being quite negative about this, saying that Weekend were trying to piggyback on them skates and their popularity. That couldn't be further from the truth, because it just doesn't make sense. Weekend Skateboards have done some huge collaborations in the past. In fact, Weekend did a capsule collection with Nike SB. Nike is like one of the biggest footwear manufacturers in the world. Like, I know them's popular, I know they're doing really well right now, but them skates, Nike SB. There was obviously negative comments on the color of the skate. I'm not really into the color of it, but it's not geared towards me. I am in my late 30s. Why the hell do they want to sell me a bright orange skate? I'm never going to wear it. But hopefully it'll appeal to younger people, because you've got things like the 90s trend that's been going on for a while now. It very much ties into that. The brain dead things that are a little bit, you know, out there and extreme looking. Again, not to my taste, but I can imagine it being popular with people who are into that stuff. One of the only negative comments that I saw that I kind of resonated with or saw some logic in was people were saying, oh God, I really hope we're not trying to somehow latch onto skateboarding again, or, you know, feed into their trends or piggyback or pigtail on them, because we did do that in the 90s. We are guilty of that. You know, we came along, we stole their trick names, we stole their spots, we stole their clothing style. Every trend that was in skateboarding in the 90s, rollerblading followed it a few months later, and it made sense why they attacked us. I don't agree with it, but I can understand how we antagonized them to the point where they were like, fuck this, we're going to destroy you. In that time, we've built up our own culture, we've built up our own history, and John Julio was part of that. John Julio saw us when we were at our height, he saw us when we were at our lowest, and he's helped build us back up with the various brands he's worked with. He's worked towards a better future for this sport. So when I see people saying things like, oh God, I hope we're not repeating the mistakes of the past, I think with John Julio involved, that's not going to happen. I think he's seen the pitfalls of how we as a culture and a community have behaved in the past and presented ourselves. And I think he understands that there's a different way to go about it. There's a different way to present ourselves that's more accurate to reality. What do you think about the Them Skates and Weekend Skateboards collaboration? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I want to give a shout out to my Patreon supporters. They're listed on the screen now. You can join the Patreon for as little as £3 a month. You get videos, sneak peeks, photos, ramblings. Get involved.